All right, the NFC South is another division I just do not care about, but I think the Falcons might be the most improved. Yeah, woof. But I think the Falcons might actually be most improved. But again, another franchise that I've not been able to trust because they haven't really done anything to make me feel like I can trust them. But on paper, with Kirk Cousins there now, they theoretically should have a good team that can win this division. The Saints, I think, are a team that's kind of weird because their quarterback situation isn't that great, but they signed Chase Young, so they have somewhat of a chance, but I'm just not in on Derek Carr, to be honest. And then, of course, you got Baker Mayfield, who, in my opinion, should have been comeback player of the year, and Joe Flacco be damned, and yes, even Damar Hamlin be damned, because Baker came back and had a great season. This team, in theory, should still be in lose now mode because they want to rebuild ever since Thomas Brady left. But here comes Baker, baby. And I loved it. I loved watching Baker play last year. And I think the Panthers are just going to be a hot disaster because I'm not sure Bryce Young is the guy. But as a whole, this division is...
It sucks, man, because I feel like with the Panthers, I feel like they had a really good run with, Jake Delhomme and then into,
Cam Newton.
Heels of that, Cam Newton. But I feel like that's a city that could really fall at risk of losing a franchise if they go into a decade of just being bad. And they are on the cusp of that. And
their attendance was horrible last year.
Yeah. I mean, and when we were down there for the tournament, man, they were talking about how well the soccer team draws.
Yeah. Oh my God, they draw like crazy.
Yeah. And so if you can't get, it's a growing city too. So it's man, if you can't get people to show up to watch the NFL, you're in trouble. And so
I'd say so.
And so it's really sad to see that because, the Panthers had been really consistently good for a while. And, I agree with you on Baker, man. I love me some Baker. He's got that chip on his shoulder, the underdog, undersized, all those things. He's a poor man's Drew Brees. That's my
that's
my take
good
on Baker.
Okay.
And he's the type of guy I think that kind of can galvanize a city. And it'd be fun to see him do that down there, especially on the heels of Tom Brady. Right? Yeah, it'd be fun to see because you're never going to fill those shoes, but I guarantee you, if Baker goes to have 5-6 years of success, he will be more beloved by those people than Tom Brady was for coming and winning a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I just think that, but I just, I don't know, man. That's my thought. And then so, Atlanta, you're right. Is there a guy that you want to see win a Super Bowl more than Kirk Cousins?
Yes.
But I say that because he just seems like the most average person. I watch a lot of these other guys play in the NFL, and I'm like, man, that guy, I can tell just by watching that guy is so different than me or the average person, so supremely talented. And Kirk Cousins just seems so you could bump into him at the grocery store and you may not even recognize him. He just seems like the everyman.
Yes, he is. But I will say that as a personality, I don't find myself being man,
he doesn't
I
have
really
one.
Want that for
he doesn't have one.
He does, but it's not polarizing. Polarizing doesn't even necessarily mean that you would root for the guy, but it's just so benign. And Baker, I'd love to see Baker win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
To me,
that would, you're right.
And Jared Goff is the same way.
Ned Flanders.
Yeah, but Jared Goff's kind of the same way. Jared Goff to me speaks benign. He's not, oh my goodness, Jared Goff just has so much personality drip. And now quarterbacks in general don't normally have personality, but Kirk Cousins is a line below that. And trust me, I think that he's a decent human being. I think he's got all the right tools to be a good, a good person in life. He's got the right mentality for things. And yeah, I'm sure people criticize him for his Christian beliefs and so forth, whatever, right? I think as a football player, though, he would love to win a Super Bowl, and I certainly wouldn't be mad at it. But as far as who would you like to see more? There's other people I'd like to see.
And you're
more.
right. I just think that he seems so ordinary that it's it's something that the average person could relate to. You feel hey, that's just my neighbor winning the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Is the way that it would feel.
Kirk Cousins is what would be created if you asked ChatGPT to create the quintessential male Kohl's customer. That's what exactly
suburban dad.
Yes, and that's what would be made because that's what he is. And he lives, eats, and breathes football, and that's what he does. And after football, he will eat, sleep, and breathe his family and his religion and blissfully have a great life of community service and doing all that good stuff. and hopefully we'll be still doing this show. But last one before we get to the end,